You just heard what the secretary had to say specifically about Huawei. I'm curious whether listening to the secretary made you more or less hopeful in terms of what the Huawei piece, and we talked about it a little bit as a chess piece in this larger trade negotiation. I know we had James and James, but
Jimmy P.
We'll give it make it a jump ball, James. As
yeah,
James
I'll jump in. Listen, if you thought that Huawei was going to be a repeat of ZTE, where after a few months Trump would say, "Listen, it's going to cost jobs," and it's basically a bargaining chip to get a better deal from China. The Secretary of State said nothing that would make you think that. He painted Huawei as a fundamental, long-term national security threat. I don't see how you can just say, "Nah, we're not going to ban them because you're buying some more sorghum from the United States." That did not sound like there's much room to back down.
James was here, but then, if that's the case, how does China deal with that, both on behalf of Huawei, and do you think that's going to be a game changer in terms of U.S. businesses doing business in China?
Look, this is full spectrum competition. You just saw the human rights issue, you saw the national security issue, you saw the economic security issue, you saw protecting American workers. We're not talking about Huawei or even a trade deal in isolation from anything else. We're really running an effective communications campaign challenging Chinese behavior. Literally everywhere they're behaving badly. So it's this comprehensive push over time that I think will get results, and that also shows that we're not.
How does it get resolved, though? How does it get resolved and when?
It gets resolved over time because the one thing the Chinese don't like is being under the spotlight. Communist regimes hate transparency, they hate accountability, they hate disclosure. In an asymmetrical world, the Chinese have deployed asymmetrical strategies against the U.S. Our asymmetrical strategy against them is total transparency and communication. That's the one thing they can't take.
Listen, I think that's a good question. What does resolved look like? You have, Trump. You have former advisors to Trump, people within the administration who are calling this a Cold War, a new tech Cold War, economic Cold War. The Cold War was about containment. And eventually, President Reagan, his idea was that, there would be no more communist-led Soviet Union. Is that what the president thinks? What does he envision as winning this war? It's apparently not just a trade deficit anymore. Is it fundamentally changing the Chinese economic system? Is it creating a freer China that's on the road to becoming like South Korea and Japan? The president ought to let us know, because I don't know exactly what he views as the end game.
But you look at the futures this morning. Clearly, the markets remain concerned. Listening to the secretary, are you more concerned 10 minutes later, or are you less concerned?
Well, listen. If by concerned you mean you think that this is not going to be
concerned that this is going to be an ongoing.
Yes, sure, for sure.
Yeah, sure. This is
not multi-month, but maybe multi-year problem.
The journey of 10,000 miles begins with a single step. Dealing with any sort of unbalanced, abusive situation starts with having the conversation about it. That's what we're doing. It's progress simply to be talking about this. But everybody who follows this for a living knows that we're talking about a long-term, multi-year strategy, just as the U.S. confrontation with the Soviet Union took years. But ultimately, the U.S. triumphed when the Soviets ran out of money. The Chinese won't run out of money anytime soon, but they'll be slowed down. When the Iranians run out of money, which is the goal of Pompeo's strategy there, I think we may see changes in Iran sooner.
Yeah, what did you make of his comments about Iran?
Well, I think that the U.S. has one policy, which is to try to constrain behavior. We can't change them, but we can take away their options. So the question is, what part of no money for the Ayatollah don't you understand? If you want to limit Hezbollah, limit missiles, limit bad behavior, they've got reserves, but you've got to shut the money down, and I think that's what they're doing.
Iran's interesting. I mean, the president has offered some clarity about Iran that I don't want a shooting war with Iran. He has said that, trying to tamp down on some of his more aggressive advisors. I've heard no such clarity regarding China and what he ultimately wants, other than all the talk early on about trade deficits.